Was a girl running in our group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford Coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
You know, we go back and forth talking about different things, but the things in the electric vehicle company time-wise, the electric vehicle mandate time-wise are really starting to get bad. And I think there's going to be a definite change in attitude in our country where we're going to end up talking differently about this. And the people that are spending these billions of dollars will likely make their money back, but I don't think we're going to create any new billionaires. I just don't. The dealer associations at Ford, I told you about all the mandates they had. If you will spend up to $1.2 million on your dealership, if you're a dealership owner, then for chargers, staff training, new sales standards, to overhaul the retail experience, your electric vehicle from Ford, you will get to sell all the electric vehicles you want. Dealers can choose to spend $500,000 instead, but would be allowed to sell no more than 25 electric vehicles a year. Some of the state associations contend that such a cap is illegal. And I got to tell you, as far as I'm concerned, it is illegal. I don't think you can force your, well, I guess you can. I mean, I don't know legally. I'm not a legal beagle. I don't know. But they're going to force their dealers to spend money to tool up and gear up for electric. And they want to hurry up and do that because there's mandates. We have to be ready by 2035, 2025, 2030. Guess what? They're not going to make it.
Well, I think a lot of that's going to be state by state. So if you end up with a state like say Wyoming or somebody, and they don't have any mandates, you're not going to sell any electric cars.
Well, that was some of that. Well, no, that was some. This is a mandate from Ford to their dealer, but in the states, some of the states have already said this sounds illegal.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like saying you can sell 25 red cars a year or something like that. It doesn't make sense. I mean, but at the end of the day, who is this hurting? It's hurting the consumer.
And you can't tie the hands of the car sales.
Right.
I mean, look what happened when they tied the hands now with this fake chip shortage.
But remember,
I keep saying that with this chip shortage.
Yeah.
And they tie the hands of the car dealers are making so much money. I don't want no chips. They want to keep that inventory low.
Well, remember that we talked about this idea about buying cars online now, where it's not like you go to the car dealership in town, you see what they have in stock. Now you go on and said, I want a black Ford or this Ford, whatever, and you'll find the dealer. Maybe you can search within 50 miles, 100 miles, wherever you want.
That's fine if you're ordering new.
Right.
Only new. You order used, you need to look at the car.
No, but I'm saying is that this
the tires.
This idea about having limitations or anything like that to the consumer is just going to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
If they want it, though.
If they want an electric car, they'll go somewhere else because this dealership reached their quota of 25 a year or whatever, and that's not fair. Some of the dealers aren't big enough. Can you imagine telling a dealer up in the North Woods or the North Upper Peninsula of Michigan that he's got to put $1.2 million into his Ford dealer?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, to maybe somebody in Chicago or Los Angeles, that's nothing. To a guy like in Wyoming in the middle of nowhere, sells 10 cars a year.
That and the fact that electric vehicles they're not conducive to cold weather.
Right.
They're not. The battery doesn't last. So you're going to tell him he's got to sell a car that he knows when the guy drives away, he's not going to be happy with it?
Right.
He's going to have to charge it at home, and you better hope he doesn't put it on fast charge because that lithium-ion battery is going to go poof. It's just I don't like first of all, I don't like the word mandate.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Not
you should let the consumer decide. If the consumers don't want them, then they won't buy them.
Absolutely, let the consumers decide. On this, we agree. I got to tell you about your buddy Elon, Chuck.
Uh-oh.
Elon is he's nothing if he isn't slick. The guy's slick. Tesla is getting around a ban on direct-to-consumer vehicle sales in New Mexico by partnering with American Indian tribes. The electric vehicle maker has one store in the state and began construction of a second, much larger location last month. That store, which is closer to the state's largest cities, is expected to open in May 2023 in Santa Ana Pueblo, according to the Albuquerque Journal. Santa Ana Pueblo and the Ambe Pueblo, where Tesla opened his first New Mexico store, are recognized as sovereign nations, Charles, and thus don't have to follow any state laws. Although efforts by some lawmakers to throw out New Mexico's ban on direct sales have failed, the state legislature this year passed a bill that allows consumers to buy vehicles on tribal land without being double taxed.
So now we've talked about this before, because I know, like in Indiana, for instance, they tried to pass this at one point that basically said you could not sell a vehicle in our state unless you had a dealership or a repair facility in the state. And so again, going back to that mandate, and of course I always go back to the idea of small vehicle production that we've been talking about for 10 years now. The new DeLorean will be here any day now. But again, there are a lot of small manufacturers, and they're waiting, whether it's DeLorean or guys that are building whatever. So this idea about mandates again, this idea that I want to buy a car from somebody, I want to buy a new DeLorean. They're not going to, are they going to tell me, no, I can't buy one because there's not a DeLorean repair facility in my state? Again, that's not right for the government to do that.
That's not, yeah, exactly. What if I want to fix it myself?
Right.
What if I don't want anybody touching my car when I buy after I buy it?
But again,
I know a lot of guys like that.
Right, but again, it's basically a, it's big government putting in protections for big business, making sure you can only buy a Ford, a Chevy, whatever.
The big government they're complimenting big business.
Complimentary, yes.
Yes, and
well,
they
let's
do.
get complimentary. Yeah,
Yes.
That's a nice way to put it.
It's big news, and it's big business, and it's big dough.
But again, I mean, that goes back to like with the electric vehicles. We've got Fiskars and all these people coming out, and if government pushes this issue now,
Fiskar's already come out once.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. So, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is you have all these small manufacturers coming out. And you have states that say, no, you can't sell. Again, I'm the consumer saying, no, I want to buy a Fiskars. I want to buy a, whatever. Stellantis. No, you can't.
Well, you better hope, if you're going to buy a Fisker, you better hope you got it in writing.
Maybe I want a repair facility nearby for you.
Yeah, I don't want a repair facility in there. Again, silicone electric vehicle battery tech. They're looking to make new tech. The push U.S. battery development, the Department of Energy awarded $250 million in cost-sharing grants to 3 companies working to scale silicon technology for faster charging and more energy storage of EV batteries. They include Amprius Technologies, Group 14 Technologies, and Scylla Nanotechnologies, all focused on silicon-based battery technology. Well, I'd like to see it happen, but I don't know if it's going to. Silicon is not as volatile as lithium. The DOA funding is part of the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure law, again, based in November 2021, and is administered by the agency's Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains. Altogether, it awarded $2.8 billion in mid-October to 20 companies working on new, retrofitted, and expanded commercial-scale domestic facilities to produce battery materials processing and battery recycling and manufacturing demonstration. I still want to know, Chuck, where are we going to plug them in? I mean, you can put all the money you want into that kind of research. You still got to have electricity. You got to have electricity from somewhere. And I'm hoping, I look at World War II and the ingenuity of the American worker, and I'm hoping that we get somebody comes up with something.
So instead of a Victory Garden, we'll have a Victory Charger? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying.
A window in the backyard to charge my Tesla?
I don't know where they're going to put all the chargers in this building, and I don't know if I want to sleep on top of 16 electric vehicles that have lithium-ion batteries in them. I just don't think I want to do it. If you're going to put them in the basement where I park, what if somebody's in a hurry, they put it on high because they want to go out at midnight or something?
So do you want to let me tell you a quick funny story before we go to break?
All right.
So the SEMA show was happening last week.
Right.
Did you hear what happened at the SEMA show?
No.
Somebody was showing off a new electric ATV at the SEMA show.
Okay.
Guess what happened?
It quit.
Caught fire in the middle of the SEMA show, and a bunch of guys had to push it out into the parking lot.
Yeah, because they can't put it out. They don't know how.
So here's
Fire extinguishers don't.
I mean, again, it's, no critique of whoever it was, but it's just a funny video I saw online where these, you had this EV ATV sitting there at the SEMA show. All of a sudden, it starts smoking. Everybody looks at it, and just starts pushing it out in the parking lot.
You got to send me that. You got to figure out how to.
Okay,
send
maybe
me
we'll
that.
find it for the end of the show.
Oh my God, that's a craze, and I'm telling you, it's nuts. Charles was telling me before the break, or he was telling us before the break, about at the SEMA show, an electric SUV caught fire in the show.
Now, this was it was an electric ATV. So what I'll do is, we weren't sure if there's any naughty words on the video, so I'm just going to go ahead and just play the video here while we talk over it. So we'll just.
Plants and just all the things that we think are going to make it better for us, our environment. First of all, we're doing way more damage to our environment by developing EV cars than if we were to do something else. And that's something else I'm going to talk about, tell you, is hydrogen. Okay? Hydrogen, and that Chuck, that 800-pound gorilla has reared its ugly head. In the last weeks, it's just popping up everywhere, and a lot of car manufacturers are now starting to slide over to hydrogen, and they're trying to develop it. I mean, you think about it. You don't have to put ugly charging stations everywhere. Every sidewalk in town is going to have a charging station. Anywhere you can park a car has got to have a charging station. You don't have to have that. You don't have to have that investment. You don't have to worry about it. And you don't have to worry about where the electricity is going to come from.
Well, I was watching earlier. I like watching documentaries. I was watching one about the feud between Edison and Tesla.
Oh, I've read that. It's cool.
So same idea, though, is you may end up with two competing technologies. I mean, there was a point where Edison was bearing direct, he had DC power, and he was wiring up all of New York City with DC power, running wires everywhere, and they said, no, never mind, AC's better, and they ripped it all up, put an AC power, but it's still a Commonwealth Edison out there.
I'm telling you, that could be the case. It could be, and what great inventions came out of that rivalry, though.
Right.
I mean, the two men were geniuses.
But remember, the difference was the government never mandated AC or DC power. The consumer decided.
Yes.
They had both technologies, had millionaires behind it. J.P. Morgan and these different guys were backing the two inventors, and the market decided who the winner was. I mean, there was a lot of electrocuting elephants and things like that in the background, putting out the negative publicity. But the whole point was the consumer decided that ultimately AC won, and that's the whole country got wired up that way.
We're going to win or we're going to lose, but we're going to let the consumer.
But imagine a situation where the government came out and said, "Well, we like Edison's DC power, even though it's not even out yet." And it's just in one little area. They say, we're going to mandate DC power. Think about what a different world we'd have.
Well, absolutely. It would be a very different world. You can't. This is why you don't let big government run your country.
Right.
Okay? The day-to-day operations of this country belong to you and I, the Americans.
I'm going to bring you a little American flag to fly when we start having these little rants.
I'm fiercely a patriot. And I got to tell you that the electric car, I mean, if you have a hydrogen car, you stop at the gas station, fill it up, 5 minutes later, you're back on the road for 500 miles.
Yeah.
You have an electric car, you got to stop, go sit somewhere and let it charge for 2 hours or 3 hours. And you got to fast charge it if you're going to do it that way, and you always take a chance on burning the car up.
So you know what we should do then? We should buy a blue check mark for your Twitter. We should tweet Elon and ask him if he's ever considered doing a hydrogen electric hybrid.
Oh, that's a perfect mix.
Is that what that work? I mean, basically, the hydrogen would charge your battery, and if you don't, that'd be a perfect solution.
Absolutely. And we got to get off where these batteries, where we're not digging big holes in the ground or going into the ocean and tapping those resources to make these dang doggone batteries. How did I do? These doggone batteries.
Well, we'll fix that one.
Yeah, Rick. I meant to say something else. You're right. But anyway, it's just... It's not like, you know what, if you ask right now, if you took a poll, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say my estimate would be better than 65% of Americans don't want an electric car. I mean, fiercely don't want it. Not maybe, I guess I'll take one. They don't want one.
Well, okay, but here's the other question, though. I'm going to play devil's advocate, as I like to do with you. I mean, when Ford first put the first cars out, most people said, "Oh, it's like a, it's like a recreational thing." When the first cell phones came out, I'm sure you were one of those guys that said, "I'm never going to carry a cell phone," right? Like,
I did. I'm sure I did. I'm never going to have a pager.
I'm never going to have I'm never going to have a leash. The old men used to say to me, "I'm never going to have a leash like that." A leash, now all those guys are playing games on their smartphones today.
Yeah, exactly. All them old guys come.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean,
they sit in my shop and play with their phones.
Right. The same guys that said, "I'll never have a cell phone." So I mean, again, it's still early to say, whether you're going to like it or not. Because
it is, but I'm telling you, the changes that are being afforded to our country, to its infrastructure, to its ecology, is devastating for electric cars. It's devastating. What in the world are we thinking? They should have taken their time and developed a battery that was not lithium, that didn't take cobalt mining and lithium mining, and it didn't take $40,000 worth of precious metals to build a battery. I mean, it's just insane. We need to do more. They needed to do more due diligence than what they did, because all of a sudden now we're just ramping it up. We are throwing cars left and right. Any battery company that'll sell us a battery, we'll put it underneath our Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, Honda, whatever. We don't care. They hurry up. We got to beat the guys. We got to be the first on the block to have the hottest electric car out there. Well, it's too late. Elon's already got that. He's got the Tesla, and believe me,
he's got the Cybertruck.
Yeah, the whole Tesla thing is a great. If you read the specs on it, and I have, if you read the things on it that I have in my trade magazines that I get, that's a great car. The guy outdid himself with that. Just like he was thinking when he teamed up with the Indians. He's always thinking. He's always doing something. And he's talking about putting a factory in Mexico too, by the way. I got a story on that if I need to. But yeah, the electric car, we just went too fast. And now I still don't know. Somebody's got to tell me, where do we plug it in? The station, the charging stations will be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, Elon is, for him specifically, he is dealing with his own network. I mean, again, it's going back to that Edison Tesla thing. Edison said, "Well, I can have all the electricity, but if I can't run wires to your house." So I mean, again, Elon is thinking about that. Elon is thinking about, he's giving you these superchargers, he's putting in the network, so he is making the investment for the chargers.
Yes, he is, and he's got free charging for some of his older cars and this kind of thing. He developed a system. He developed the whole thing, but he still has to plug it in, Chuck. Everybody got to plug in. And every state, I guarantee you, the town I live in, the state I live in, will never support 100% electric cars. It can't.